Good evening and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to our Rambletech. It's been a while, but we are almost done our break. We're looking forward to getting things rolling again. So here we are, one more time, into the breach.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Hello, folks. Welcome back to another episode.
So we thought we'd try and do a little bit of a combination here. Things are going forward. Today we are going to ramble about what's changing for next season for League. Geoff, what's the number one thing that you think is changing for League for next year?
We're adding new factions. 2 of them, in fact.
Big ones. They actually represent multiple factions.
Well, they represent multiple things inside said factions, but they are only 2 factions.
1, 2, yep, still 2 factions.
Did you use both hands to count that?
Nope, just the 2 thumbs.
Oh, good. So you've mentioned what these were before in other videos, Geoff. Is there anything new we need to talk about them?
No, for those folks that didn't listen, it's the clans, by the way. We've added the clan factions, Wardens and Crusaders. No, I think we went over everything before, but we're doing for their special rules. So Wardens get ER lasers and...
Well, specifically ER pulse
ATMs.
lasers.
Yeah, ER pulse lasers, yeah. And ATMs. And then the Wardens get heavy lasers and streak LRMs.
We also added tweaks to all of the factions this year.
Yes, true. Yeah, we added every faction has 2 techs that they get to choose from as their faction techs. Well, not choose from, they have access to as both their faction techs. And then, so just some other minor tweaks and stuff like that. And some changes to our build rules and a couple of new skills. And, just some minor things.
Yeah, to be clear, we didn't actually tweak every single faction. We reviewed every faction and tweaked the ones that needed it. Yeah, a couple of the factions like Fed Suns with their targeting computers and racks, Draconis Combine with MRMs and C3. Actually, ignore that last part because Draconis Combine did get a little tweak, but like Comstar stayed the same. So not everybody got modified, but everybody did get reviewed.
And we did an overall tweak by adding the faction tech perk for everyone, not just the Fear-Log Republic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the big things is last year we had some factions had 1 technology and like a free skill choice. Others had 2 technologies, and to make it all balanced and more even up, we just said everybody gets 2 technologies. And if you want to choose to, you can use faction tech at the beginning on one of your mechs, and you don't have to pay points cost for it. Unless you pick it up later. If you pick it up later, you still pay point cost.
Yeah, it's a huge change because it allows people to, like my faction last year, the Comstar faction, I was only able to fit 1 mech, or 2 mechs into my faction that are actually linked by the C3I. This year I could have had 3, which would have been a big jump forward, even if I still had to give up those 4 points at the beginning of the season. It would have made a huge change, as well as factions like Fear-Log Republic, and I said that horribly, they don't have a lot of mechs that use X-Pulse lasers. And there's a few others that it's really hard to find versions or variants of mechs with their faction tech. I know pretty much anything that had plasma rifles that when we were looking through the master unit list had MMLs. So the plasma rifle MML combination doesn't work because we split the tech separately. The Capellans get plasma rifles and stealth armor. The MMLs went to the Mercs. So we couldn't have those mechs in the Capellan list. So we're allowing people to tweak a mech to add their faction tech because there simply isn't enough mechs in the timeline that we're using that have that tech.
Oh, and to be fair, we're allowing people to ask for mechs to be tweaked, not allowing them to tweak the mech.
Well, yeah. We're doing the work, but it allows them to at least try to get more of their faction tech into their lance before day 1.
Yes.
I'm hoping this leads to a more diversification of our lances going forward this year. Less Banshee 3Ss, not everybody having a Wolverine or a plethora of Night Skies and Wraiths, that we actually see some more things like, hey, I'm going to take a Phoenix Hawk and ask for my faction tech on it.
Yep, absolutely, and I think it will make a difference. I don't know how big a difference, but that's the nice thing about League. It's constantly evolving, so we'll see how well that goes.
I mean, we might actually see a Vindicator with a plasma rifle. All right, so that's basically what we got going on. That's a gist of it. Lee, do you have a theoretical lance that you might want to throw together or see somebody run next year?
Well, I did actually make up one when we were doing some of the play testing. I built up a Comstar lance using some really odd mechs, ones that weren't really linked well or really represented. The first one is actually the Inner Sphere Galahad, which is 55-ton medium mech. Not mounting to Gauss rifles like the clan version does. It's actually 2 PPCs, 2 large lasers, moving 3.5 with 20 single heat sinks. And then I also had a Black Knight, which was updated but did not have a C3I. I've actually got the list here, so I'm just going to go over it real quick. The Black Knight BL6KNT. It's got 2 large lasers, a PPC, 4 mediums, and a Beagle Active probe. Moving 4.6, and a standard engine, but only single heat sinks. So it had 20 single heat sinks. Not
Pretty
optimized.
sure that's the one I ran last year.
Yeah, it's not optimized. It's a good mech though, but it wasn't part of the C3I lance link. A Lancelot. I went with a kind of a Knights of the Round Table idea. It's the Lancelot LNC 2505, which I think is really neat. Some of the Comstar names, for, like the abbreviations in them. I think those are actually Star League abbreviations. PPC, 2 large lasers and 4 machine guns, moving 6.9. Terrible armor, a little bit better than I think the standard Lancelot, but still not good armor. And then
4 machine guns?
Yeah. Yep. 4 machine guns on the standard, but I'm pretty sure that is the Star League variant. And then finally the Highlander, because it's really hard to find 4 mechs that fit all 3 categories that are in the Comstar list. Like, there's Merlins and stuff like that, but Merlin's another heavy, so it's not an assault. So the Highlander's the HGN 736, Gauss rifle, LRM 20 with Artemis, Streak 4, 2 medium lasers, and the only mech in the list that actually was C3I'd. My plan is to eventually, if we were using the faction tech tweak, I was going to get one of the other ones linked into the system using that, which would probably have been the Galahad, because I kind of want to get the thing moving a little bit faster. But yeah, that's the lens I would have tried to take and just played with, because I like experimenting.
What do you think about that list, Geoff?
That sounds kind of neat.
I don't know how well it would do, like really. I played against Laura as she was playtesting a Lyran lance that she was interested in, and the really slow Galahad really hindered its usefulness.
Yeah, especially being a medium mech that only goes 3.5, right?
Yeah. Early on, that mech has to be tweaked for it to be useful.
So I have a couple of thoughts on that, and mostly they're going to play into maybe how somebody would consider this. So first and foremost, we've switched how the engineering skills work a little bit. They're now divided into a major category and a minor category. Major categories being engineering, just a straight up like rebuild kind of request, black market and underworld contacts. So black market allows you to get advanced tech. Underworld Contacts allows you to get somebody else's tech, or it's the other way around. I always get those two confused unless I'm reading them off the book. Clan Salvage is also in there, and Faction Tech. So with that, the first flaw that I see in this, Lee, is there's only 2 skills that could really add in the faction technology, engineering and faction tech, and you only have one that's starting with anything on it.
Yeah, but actually the other ones can work as well, even the minor ones. If I take even Technician and say I want to swap a piece of technology for a C3I, I can do that with Technician. I just have to make sure it's like for like. So maybe dropping an ECM off of one of the mechs, something like that.
Yeah, you couldn't swap like a large laser for the C3 unit, but yeah, you could drop a piece of electronics equipment.
Yeah, the big active probe on the Black Knight would work.
So yeah, I guess you have thought about that. You could actually slip in all 4 with very careful skill selection.
Yep. And though, when I originally built this lens, it was before we tweaked the engineering skills, the change skills, and I do see some of the limitations that I would have had by looking at that. Originally, it was a pretty easy grab of 3 skills. It was engineering, faction tech, and I think it was black market or something like that to add double heat sinks. So there's ways to do it, because for one thing, our faction tech is usable when we do any form of re-engineering skills. So just because I say, okay, I want my Black Knight to have double heat sinks, it's going to give me a bunch of tons. I don't have room nor need for 20 double heat sinks. I'm going to end up with a bunch of tonnage left over. You or Geoff redesigning my mech might go, well, it's a C3I Lance. We're going to use the extra tonnage that you have left over of the 15 double heat sinks that you actually need. We have 5 tons left over. We'll throw the C3I in.
Yeah, after we check off the boxes of got to have case 2 and got to be heat neutral or heat balance. You got to have the armor at 94%.
Mm-hmm.
Check all of the regular things. If there's extra tonnage left over, then the admin can use it to add on faction tech that's missing. But it's not something you can just assume that would get added on in case there was only like a ton left or something like that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm pretty close to that with that. Like, that was my thought process, because I don't design my mechs. You guys do. So I was thinking, well, it's all energy, pretty well armored. The double heat sinks are a pretty obvious upgrade. So when I ask for that, it gives me tonnage. There's going to be tonnage left over. I don't need advanced guns. I don't need to upgrade to an ERPPC. I don't need upgrade to ER large lasers. It's pretty solid the way it is. It just needed double heat sinks to be able to fire a little bit more efficiently. So I figured the extra tonnage, you guys would look at that and go, well, part of C3I Lance, I should throw it in. I guess you could hose me and throw in an INARC system into it, but it's not a missile mech to begin with, so I don't know why you would do it.
Exactly. If it doesn't really make sense for the mech, it's not something we're going to do.
Well, we would just do it because it's Lee, though, right?
And mount it rear, just to really hose it.
Yeah, and you know what? I could believe it. I don't think you would, because we don't do it to anybody, but that was my logic and the thought
Yeah,
process.
but you're not anybody.
That's true. I'm not just anybody. I am the guys that the person has to everybody pick on. Wow, that was terrible.
Alexander got rear-mounted weapons added to one of his mechs last year.
It's because you're a dick to your own kid.
I was going to say, was that intentional?
It was. It was rear-mounted pulse lasers for defense a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. And I could see maybe doing that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense when his mechs were probably already linked into the system. But mine wouldn't be. I just hope and pray on the admin's altars to make sure that you guys actually did what I needed.
Yeah, it was a balance of 1 slot, 1 ton, and very little BV to play with, so you got a small pulse laser to the rear.
Yep, something to help. So, but I do see your limitations that you're talking about, especially with the new engineering. I wouldn't have probably taken this Lance. That was just me playing around, coming up with a Knights of the Round Table type idea, because I'm a big fan of the Knights of the Inner Sphere, but I didn't even try with the Free Worlds League because I was expecting to get them to be taken quickly, because those ER laser upgrades are great, as well as the fact that the Free Worlds League skill of being able to get clan ranges out of Inner Sphere weapons is massively useful.
Geoff, any feedback on this one?
Not really. It's a decent Lance. I think it would be funny and interesting. Yeah, like Lee said, I don't know how well it would do overall, but it still sounds like an interesting and fun Lance.
So despite it seeming weak on paper, I like that it's themed, because it allows some fun and some more comedy in the Lance, as opposed to just I'm bringing in the best mechs that I can. Also, the Galahad Black Knight and Lancelot are all energy boats. You drop the machine gun ammo out of the Lancelot, and those mechs are now harder to kill because they are all, I assume at least some of them have standard engines.
All do.
So zombies.
They all have standard engines except for the Highlander. And like you said, they're all energy boats, so they were going to be hard to kill. That was one thing. That Galahad actually was, I don't think it was ever actually killed in our game between Laura and I. It was just badly wounded. Like, it was, I think it was down to like one weapon before we called time. So it was very difficult to kill.
So you were going to have somebody paint them all black for you and hope that you could just move around biting their ankles?
Yeah, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the limbs magnetized, so I can just pop the limbs off. Merely a flesh wound.
I hear Chris M's good at that.
Oh, yeah.
Here, Chris, with my lance, please cut off all 4 limbs and magnetize them, so as we're playing the game, I can actually pop them off.
And now that we can prop and fire with one arm, that'll make a big difference too, because that's a skill change we made for this upcoming season.
Yeah, we just made that for alignment purposes, so that it was a little easier to keep track of.
Yeah.
So following along your path, I went and threw together a Draconis Combine Lance. However, I had all 4 mechs starting in the network. The Firestarter Omni -C, it's got 2 LRM-10s, C3 Slave. It's moving 696. It is 1,006 BV, so it's pretty light, but it's got 2 long-range guns, and it goes good for spotting purposes. And it's an Omni mech. Next up, we've got the Nodachi 2KC. That is the 1564 BV one. It's got the large pulse, the sword, 6 medium pulses, ER medium. ER medium is to the small or to the rear, and it's got a small pulse laser. The only thing that we need to point out about that is that we've removed the TSM because it's not a technology being used in the league.
Yeah, that's actually another rule that we changed too, is the pulse boat rule. We got rid of it. Threw it out the window. We no longer are trying to calculate how many tons of pulse lasers versus non-pulse lasers you have.
Well, we'll see how that goes, because with no rule in place and open game season and clans coming in, I got a feeling we're going to be reviewing that again for season 4.
Yeah, I think so, because I've seen some of the clan mechs that are lances that some people have been able to build, and they've presented us to see if whether or not they were viable, and some of them are awfully pulse heavy.
So the assault mech for that is my ever-favored Gunslinger. The 2 ERD, though, this time, with the 2 Gauss rifles, 4 ER Meads, ECM, and it's got the C3 Master in that one.
Ooh.
Going 353. They actually give it the extra jump jet, too.
Oh, that's cool. Any reinforcements to the legs?
No, that was all, like, floating crits, so it doesn't much matter. And we're not using armored components. And then the 4th mech of this would be either the Crusader 5K with 2 MRM-30s and a C3 unit in it, or go with a Marauder 3R and use Faction Tech just to have it put into the network.
Oh, cool. That's a solid lens. Like, I don't see anything. I love C3 systems. They are really powerfully useful tools if you know how to use them. So the C3I or just the standard C3, that's great. And really the Draconis combined with their MRM technology, even with the penalty to fire, you really gain it when you are able to be at 15 hexes and fire as if you're 3 hexes away with the C3 system. It kind of negates that penalty.
Geoff, thoughts?
I like it because you've already got it set for the LAN or for the network, so it's just you could then use any engineering you wanted to do for just tweaking stuff, small things, or just changing the odd thing, right? Like it.
Well, you take alternative configuration, right? Like
yeah,
for the Omni, and unlike mine, where I'm going to be spending 3 or 4 weeks, the game days, building my lance up to the C3 system, you're starting off the cuff, ready to go, like off the shelf. You're ready for your link, and at that point, you don't have to engineer anything if you don't want to. You can just simply put in piloting, gunnery, and general skills that make the lance just more and more effective.
Yeah, being that Clan Salvage is in there with the major configures, I was thinking even like maybe I'll throw the Clan Large Pulse on the Nodachi.
Yeah, get that range reaching out. That's good.
Very few weapons are superior to the Clan Large Pulse.
Oh, and what's the little tweak that we added to the Draconis Combine that would make that Crusader idea of yours a lot more effective?
That would be we're adding the Apollo system in this year. So that's why I was also considering it for the Crusader 5K because you can still use faction tech on it, even though it has 2 MRM30s. But you could be like, I want to add the Apollos on there.
Mm-hmm. Which negates the penalty to fire and makes those weapons pretty huge.
Yeah, the number of missiles goes down a little bit on average, but if you're hitting, that makes your damage output way better.
Yeah, you missed 3 shots. It didn't matter that they were 30s, right? You wasted a ton of ammo.
Yeah. Well, it's handy. Because like you say, you get the benefits of it, and with being able to take faction tech as your free choice, you could literally put that on that to start with, right?
Mm-hmm. Strong lance, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Geoff, if you had to pick a mech out of all the new ones that we've entered into the league, be the clan, be some of the named ones that we've come up with, because you were the guy who went through the lists and really found them for us, what mech excites you the most to possibly bring to league?
Excites me the most to bring to league?
Or that you're hoping to see on the field by somebody.
Oh, well, we know for a fact we're going to see a bunch of the named. Some of the named ones are pretty decent. Oh, I think we're going to see the named ones. The one that I'm going to be laughing when I see it on the board, if I do see it, is going to be like some of the named clan mech variants. Like we gave Warden the Widowmaker, but it's like 3k battle value. So that's pretty much half your battle value of your clan machine. Lance right there in one mech. And then we gave like the Crusaders, we gave them the Aiden Pride variant. So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see what people come up with to try to fit some of these mechs in with.
You're looking forward to hopefully see some named ones. That's definitely up there on the list. For me, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing somebody taking the Daishi A, 3 large pulse lasers and a Gauss rifle, right? And then watching people try to figure out how to deal with that. But when they do drop it, it's half their BV of their entire lance.
Yeah, because I think that one's like 3,400 or something.
Yeah, it's... go ahead.
No, it's 2855.
Okay, well, it's a quarter of their...
It's cheaper than the Widowmaker variant.
Really? All right.
Yeah, well, because the Widowmaker variant has a targeting computer. 3 large pulses and an Ultra 20.
Yeah.
2 PPCs, 2 large pulse, 2 air meat, and an Ultra 20.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's just a massive amount of firepower. But yeah, the Daishi A, I've heard people talking about that being one of the ones they really want to bring. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the Inner Sphere pilots with their tech try to deal with that. Because there are ways to do it. Me personally, you charge the damn thing. You don't give it a chance to use its range benefit to take you down.
I think I would rather play, I move fast and I just make sure you have no line of sight to shoot at me.
Yep. And always remember, a Gauss rifle is a Gauss rifle is a Gauss rifle. Your gunslinger at 15 hexes is doing 30 points of damage to that Daishi, and you only need to roll the same location twice, and it's almost eternal. So,
or the head once.
Yeah, or the head once. Yeah, that happens. And then you watch the guy cry. Nothing worse than losing your mech to a single shot.
Yeah, in the end, it's still a 100-ton mech, so it's no different than a lot of Inner Sphere 100-ton mechs, right? It's just that it gets the benefit of extra range and damage on someone. Which, with how small we play, well, not small, but being only 2 maps, it's a lot easier to negate the range benefit than it would be if we were playing on like a giant map or something. Yeah. One of the giant maps that are now available soon enough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even the difference between 3 maps wide and 2 maps wide is significant.
Yes.
Actually, there's going to be a dynamic change, I think, for League this season. You made a good point there. Some people were able to be very successful camping. They'd get 2 or 3 mechs standing about 18 hexes away from everybody, using their Gauss rifles, using their LRMs, whatever, to hammer the enemy without really taking a lot of damage back. I think the clans are going to change that.
I can sit at 25 with my ER larges and you can't touch me.
Or at 20 hexes with my large pulse lasers, and while you might be doing 15 points of damage, I get a -2 bonus to hit you, and nothing you have on the field can do the same, and then you start adding skills. So I think it's going to stop people's thought process of, oh, I'm just going to build a full camping lance and make them come to me and then I'll deal with it. It's going to change that thought process because there's going to be at least 6 factions in League this year that are going to be able to outrange you and out accuracy you. So you're not going to be able to just sit back and play that game.
I think you're actually going to see those types of players gravitating towards clans or C3 or whatever factions to be like, hey, this is how I want to play, so I need to be able to sit at long range and have moderate numbers to hit.
Yep.
And then they're going to get rushed by Nightstar with a Ultra 20 and an LB 20.
Yep.
Not necessarily, but they might.
Yep. Or people will try to do things like the Thunderhawk. Right? They'll dump a bunch of tonnage into a mech that can throw out those 15-point hits at the same range and make the clanners pay if they want to stand back and do nothing. Right? They
like a Thunderhawk's throwing 45 versus that Daishi that's throwing 45.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
goes both ways.
Yeah. I think we might see Personal Vendetta get taken a lot because people will then go, yeah, that Daishi's got to go, and I'm going to put that on my mech to make sure that Daishi is dead early.
I do see Personal Vendetta being a keyed skill for people to be like, yeah, you invested almost half your mech's BV into one unit. I'm going to go beat that.
Or make it run. Like, that's one of the things that I remember people talking about Personal Vendetta being slightly useless because, oh, well, it's only one mech. Yeah, you make that Daishi hide because you've hammered it for a long time. They don't want to lose the mech because it's a death on their side. You've changed the game. Even if you don't have gunnery bonuses against everybody else, you've changed the game by making that Daishi not do what it was comfortable doing.
Well, exactly. And that's the whole thing. Even if, like you say, a couple points of trees in between that can't see anything, doesn't have targets, limiting its targets while you concentrate on other stuff.
Yep.
So speaking of the Direwolf, we had somebody throw together a brief clan lance here. Elementals, Direwolf Widowmaker, Dragonfly Prime with the 2 medium pulse, AMS, SRM4, and 2 machine guns going 8, 12, 8. And Novacat M, so it would slide in under the BV cap, with 2 LB20s, a large pulse laser, and a Streak 6.
Wow. 2 LB20s?
2 LB20s.
That's vicious.
It's a funny variant.
In a mech that's traditionally either all lasers or all missiles, being like, what do you mean it's got 2 autocannons?
Yeah. And that's another thing I noticed with the BV caps that we're going with 7K. You're seeing Vipers. Now that you're seeing some of the weaker planned fast mechs being brought in to kind of pad the BV for the heavier mechs being able to be those heavier mechs like the Widowmaker and all that. They are still really effective. You really think about that. That is 2 large lasers, the 2 medium pulse lasers. On any medium mech, 2 large lasers is a decent amount of firepower. On a mech that moves 8, 12, 8, that's very vicious.
Yeah, if you compare it to a Wolverine, the Merrick one, the 7M, the Merrick one has 2 ER larges, so this has 2 clan medium pulses. They're pretty comparable weapons. Range bracket's different, but the Merrick one has an SRM6. This has an SRM4. This one has an AMS, when the Merrick one has 2 medium pulses. So, I mean, you're looking at roughly equivalent for output, except this goes 8, 12, 8.
Yeah. Yeah, so while some of the clan mechs people are like, oh, I wouldn't use that thing, it's not carrying enough firepower. No, it actually is. It's carrying quite a bit of firepower. It just has to be used delicately because the armor isn't there.
Yeah, if you swat it like a dragonfly, it's going down.
Did we end up with any Hunchback 2Cs?
Not in any of the lists that I built, but...
Oh. Were they in the list? I don't remember if they were added.
No, we did not add any Hunchback 2Cs to the lists.
I wanted to see somebody go all suicidal with 2 Ultra 20s.
That's not true. We did add Hunchbacks 2C to the list, but it's not the Ultra 20 variant. The double Ultra 20 variant.
It's the heavy large laser variant, isn't it?
One's the 2C3, and the other one is the...
Yeah, 4 heavy large lasers.
Yeah.
The other one is... thing. The 2C2.
Yeah, is that the swayback kind of version with the ATM?
I think so, yes. I don't know. I'd have to...
I think it's like a 2 ATM 12.
So the swayback variant they refer to as the one with the 4 heavy larges.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because that's the energy.
Because it's all energy boat. But
That's
it's 18 heat each one, and it does not have the heat sinks for that.
Neither does the standard Clan Nova, right? 10 ER medium lasers and 30 heat sinks or something like that. Or 12 ER medium lasers. It's too many. It's way too many ER medium lasers. That mech cannot fire it. It's just a laser light show. So how sought after do you think the clans are going to be this season? Do you think they're going to be like the first ones gone?
I don't think so. I don't think it'll be the first one's gone, but I think they'll be gone pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident they'll be gone by about halfway, 3/4 through the picks. Because people want to play with the cool toys and the nifty stuff, but honestly, I think clan factions are a bit of a handicap stable when you take them. Now, we've built lots of effort so that everything is playable and everything has you're not going to be totally screwed if you take this faction instead of that faction. But being that they are so BV intensive for each of the units, you really are putting a lot of eggs in one basket at some point in time with them.
That's true. That's true. Like that Widowmaker, you lose it and you're way behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, the other Hunchback that we were talking about that we added is 3 ATM 12s.
Which is
a couple, you know?
Just a lot of missiles coming at you.
It's not that many.
Till you get hit by the high explosive and you take 36 points of damage per launcher.
Listen.
I will take missile grouping. Thank you very much, please, and thank you.
On top of its built-in Artemis 4.
Minor details, right? Minor details.
Another one that was questioned and we had a lot of talking about was the inclusion of elementals. Now, I know elementals are elementals. I know one side says they're way over complicated and they're too hard to deal with, and people are like, I don't want to face them, I don't want to play them. And then there's people like you, Geoff, they're like, they're easy, just shoot them. They die and you don't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was your opinion. Has that changed at all, or do you still pretty much have the same viewpoint?
No, I think the same thing. It's sure they get 2 shots of SRM, right? And that's their only range for the most part. They're 1, 2, 3. They move 3. Most things can avoid them if they need to. Plus, they have to get to you to start with. Sure, they can ride on an Omni-Mech, but they're just easier to hit if they're riding on an Omni-Mech half the time. I don't think they're not the great big bad equalizer that a lot of people think they are.
Okay.
I think the biggest equalization factor they bring is that it's a 4-on-4 fight instead of just being 3 mechs on 4 mechs.
Yeah, well, that was the point. That's why we allow the other option is to take 4 clan mechs, 3 of the 1 of the medium, heavy, and assault, and then you can choose your own for the 4th mech. Though I cannot see, I'd be absolutely astounded if somebody figures out a way to fit 2 assault mechs, clan assault mechs, a heavy and a medium in a lance. Personally, I think they're going to be a big problem. That Dragonfly carrying a point of elementals that can reach the other side of the map board in 3 turns, I think is going to make the elementals a much bigger problem, especially if anybody thinks they're going to camp. There's no way Aaron's going to be able to keep his Night Star perched on top of a hill with elementals ripping his legs off.
Why are you picking on Aaron?
Because it's Aaron. I have to pick on Aaron. Because he at least shows up for his game. I can't call out Justin. Justin never doesn't show up. So I have to call out Aaron. And his Night Star was a horror show. People were terrified of that thing.
Yeah, again, it was a mech that sat on a hill that just sat there with 3 head capping weapons and was firing in the movement phase due to determination.
Yep. So if all of a sudden there was a point of elementals at his feet that he can't shoot because you can't fire into the same hex you're standing in, and they're swarming or doing leg attacks, it changes. And he can't use
determination, otherwise they're just going to have free reign on him.
Yep. So yeah, I think elementals are going to have a bigger effect with the people who know how to use them. I think they will be cannon fodder for people who don't, and maybe that's the point. They'll send them out to let them get shot at for 2 or 3 rounds and wiped out, so their other mechs aren't being hit. Meanwhile, that Dragonfly is now behind you. Or that Daishi's had 2 or 3 turns of 3 large pulse lasers hammering at you, or 2 large pulse lasers in the Widowmaker's example. And now you've taken 3 or 4 turns of damage, and you're damaged enough that, sure, the elementals are gone and your opponent's down a mech, but you're, on fumes at that point.
So, Geoff, if you had to play clans, or you got given clans as a faction because nobody else took it, what way do you think you would go? Would you want to try and run 4 mechs, or would you run 3 mechs and the elementals?
I would run 3 mechs and elementals any day, all day. Because that's just meaning you're getting 3 mechs to put more battle value into instead of trying to do 4 mechs where you're most likely going to be 2 mediums, a heavy, and an assault. Where, sure, there's some decent mediums, but I'd rather have some bigger guns or better armor or all of the above on 3 of the mechs than try to shoehorn in a 4th one.
Yeah, I think
it's possible, but
yeah, I think 4 mechs for the clans is absolutely possible. I just think you're going to end up with some weak points in your lance that people might be able to exploit, at least early on, until you're able to upgrade your mechs.
Like the Rifleman C with 2 large pulse lasers, 2 LB5s, and only 12 single heatsinks?
That's a decent one.
I'm a really big fan of it, despite the fact that it overheats if it moves at all. It's only 1335 BV.
Yeah, and then the first thing you do is you throw double heatsinks on it, right? And now it's a very viable mech because you're firing both large pulse lasers and both LV5Xs. Right?
Yeah, it's decent. There's some really decent stuff.
They also did a bit of an errata change. I don't think errata is the right way. A lot of the mechs we thought of the C variants that were like the Archer C with clan weapons only had 10 single heat sinks. It actually turns out that they were either tonnage wrong or they tweaked them a little bit further, and most of those ones have 20 single heat sinks. So those are actually a little bit better than we thought they were when we were looking through them. But I believe that Rifleman C, you're right, it's 2 clan large pulse lasers, 2 LV5Xs, and 11 or 12 single heat sinks.
Oh yeah, you mean the ones that they undertonned in the original books and then fixed in I think some of the rec guides or something like that?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing they did was up the single heat sinks.
Yeah, well, they're missing tonnage. If you look at some of the Skunkworks files in Mech Factory and those ones, that's what it is. It's they gave them more heat sinks.
They missing forgot a bunch of heat sinks.
Yeah, and the mechs aren't perfect, but they are better.
Yeah, because all they did was they're like, well, we'll just slap in the clan weapons, and then they neglected to factor in that actually frees up tonnage.
Yeah.
Another mech that I really like that's going to be on the list here that I think we may see, especially if Lee gets stuck with clan faction of some kind.
It's never going to happen. Even the fact that I get to pick before you do, Brett, there is not going to be the clans available by the time it gets around to you and I.
The Archer-C starts off with 2 clan 20s, 2 clan ER mediums, and 2 clan ER mediums rear with 20 single heatsinks.
Mm-hmm.
Faction tech it for 2 ATM 12s instead of the LRM 20s.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Though that does turn it into where you kind of want to advance in. Like the mech, you don't want to keep it at the back of the battlefield. It's not really a camper.
Yeah, because you're throwing 24 instead of 40 now.
Yeah.
At long range. But.
Yeah, and there's no minimums on the clan, so if somebody decides to come at you, you still got the 2 clan LRM 20s. But with ATMs, they're their bread and butter is when you're at the medium
3 hexes or so.
Well, within 9 hexes, and then all of a sudden they're really eating it, right? So, or the mechs I'm really excited about is I can't wait to see somebody use a longbow 13C or a longbow 14C for the Mercs, I believe it is, with the 6 MML7s with Artemis or 6 MML9s without Artemis. Those are going to be beautiful. I know one person who's just dying to use them. One of the people being me, But
I was going to say, who's dying to use it?
I kind of talked Laura into it. She kind of went, really? I'm like, yeah, the MML 9, you can fire 54 SRMs at somebody. Or the MML 7s, where you're firing out 42 with Artemis. So you've got a huge number of missiles. And if you happen to take the SRM specialty ammunition, you're firing out 54 tandem charge or 54 Infernos. Like, it's not going to be pretty. And with the new rules on tandem charge, going straight by the actual rules as written, every time you hit with one of those tandem charge, it's a critical chance. A 10 or higher is a single critical. You're going to get some. It's just going to vaporize people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100% it's just going to vaporize people.
So how many AMS systems are you expecting to see this year?
Yeah, well, that's the kind of thing. That's the neat thing. This is opening up a whole new design plan for people. Anybody who's really paying attention to what other people could potentially bring, because we did it last year with the C3 and the C3I. People took them seriously, and there were a lot more ECMs on the field. These new techs are going to make people really think about what they're taking.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see more AMS choices or more AMS requests this year.
Yep.
At least the people that know.
Well, it may be after they face those longbows or MML boats, but they're not going to ever face it a second time without being prepared.
All right, Geoff, what do you got to say about this next season? Are you excited about it? Are you thinking there's going to be a lot more stress because we're adding in new factions and elementals and battle armor and, this is going to be difficult to deal with?
No, I don't think it's going to be more difficult to deal with. I think it's going to be... I think the main thing is we're possibly having quite a few more players. Like,
oh my goodness.
I think that's more than anything else, yeah.
I'm going to be fully white-haired, because I've been thinking about this. When we started off with 18 players, Uncivil Discourse took us about half an hour to 45 minutes to do. We added 4 new teams, getting us up to 22, and it suddenly went to like 45 minutes to an hour. We are up to 31 players at the moment signed up, and while we're not really advertising at this point, we could have walk-ins that come in and go, hey, I'd really like to join. We could have 4 full divisions this year, and Uncivil Discourse might have to be broken into 2 shows. Or we're feature-length movie-long episodes.
Yeah, just feature length.
Yeah, well, we might have to. And the nice thing about that for you, Geoff, is that it's the other Geoff's problem. He's the one who's going to have to figure out how to talk for an hour and a half to make it interesting.
Our new special commentator gets stuck with the, congratulations, you're joining the hour and a half show.
Maybe I'll just go show up and take up his job anyways.
You absolutely are welcome to join us.
I know. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm going to show up. Just, maybe we're going to need the 4 of us just to fill in all the time, right?
Yeah, we're all sitting there with water and Gatorade trying to deal with all the talking we're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. This is so much fun. This is going to be a blast.
I know, yeah. So I made a quick glance.
You were totally unprepared for this when we started recording, and I knew you would be into it.
I haven't sat at my computer in like the past 2 days.
Okay.
So I've been busy. All right, so I could either do the Direwolf Alpha, because it's a great mech to start with. Mm-hmm. But I didn't. Brett will laugh at this one. Brett, I did the Warhawk C.
I was not surprised by that at all.
Oh, exactly, right?
Me either.
The Warhawk C, the Ice Ferret, or Fenris D. It's almost like I have these mechs painted behind me from original League.
You've ran this lance before.
Yeah, the Ice Ferret D, right? So that and the Deviation, because it's just slightly battle value wise. The Deviation, and not by much, actually, to be fair. I would be, what am I here? I am 33. Adding in 33 would be 2,400. I could do it depending on the variant, but I don't think what's the Mad Cat B have again?
I think that's the LB5 one.
Yeah, it's not the decent one.
It's still a Mad Cat. There's no bad Mad Cats. There's prime Mad Cats, but there's no...
They're...
Sorry, that's the Gauss rifle one.
Oh, well, see?
Oh, yeah, the Gauss Rifle LRM-10 SRM-4 large pulse, small pulse. It's not bad, actually, you know? It's kind of a weird weapons loadout, but it's not bad.
John took a summoner with a similar loadout, and the only problem is the summoner only has 1 ton of Gauss Rifle ammo. But the Gauss Rifle large pulse laser combo worked really well.
Well, this only has 1 ton of Gauss Rifle ammo also.
Okay. That's what technicians
anyways, yeah, I didn't go with that, which I could have, which would literally be my exact lance from, like, Stu's League with those 3 mechs. But I actually went with, shockingly, the Guillotine 2C.
Oh, that is such a beautiful mech.
That is a solid.
It is a sleeper, amazing unit.
So yeah, the Guillotine 2C is armed with a ERPPC, 2 ER Meads, 2 large pulse, and an SRM6 going 464.
And good armor.
Yeah, it's like 89%, 90% armor.
And for a clan mech, that's big. Most of the clan mechs aren't sitting that high. Like that's the one thing people have to watch out when they actually ask us to do any engineering skills on the clan mechs. They're going to get up armored before really anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
so
most of them run between 60 and like 72% armor.
Yeah. So don't be thinking that you're going to get in there and say, hey, I want you to do this to your mech, and then all of a sudden we're going to be, oh, you've got all these extra weapons, or you're super more heat efficient. Well, actually, no, heat efficiency is 3rd on our list. I believe it's case 2 and then armor.
Yeah, it's either 2nd or 3rd. It's case 2 is 1st, and then I believe it's armor to 94, and then it's heat efficiency.
Yeah. So your mechs may not be as heat efficient as you like, because we've got to get it up to that 94 armor. 94% armor.
Minimum 94%. Sometimes it'll go higher depending on what you want, right?
Or what fits. Right, like we'll try to get it to 100% if we can, but 94 will be our cutoff of what's acceptable and what isn't.
Yeah, a lot of the different weight classes, adding that extra half a ton only gives you like 3 points of armor, so it's wasteful, which is why we also have the cutoff there of if we can do kind of what's efficient, we will go with that instead.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously a point of elementals, right? So.
Yeah.
Gotta have the bodyguards.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now, you got. Yeah, the Fenris D is the like I said, the Guillotine is the ERPPC, 2 large pulse, SRM6, 2 ER Meads. It's 464. It's got decent armor. It's got okay heat dissipation, right? If you're running and you're firing your 3 large weapons, you're going to overheat by 5. So it's good. Obviously, the Warhawk C is 2 ERPPC, 2 large pulse, targeting Peter. Yeah, it's really good. And then the Fenris D is
that's the 4 medium pulse, isn't it?
Yes.
So the thing I like about that most, I'll let you go, Lee, and then I'll chime in.
This is why part of the reason why we kind of got rid of the pulse rule as well was because the clans were going to have a very hard time fielding effective mechs. Like, we were really narrowing the scope of what clan mechs you could pull from, because of the number of pulse lasers that the clans used. Because why wouldn't they? Right? It's longer range, more accurate, really good damage. So a lot of the clan variants are very pulse heavy.
And with stock mechs, there's just pulse on most everything, right? So.
Yep.
Now, the thing that I wanted to say is I really like this lance combination because the Fenris in there is an 8-12 ground moving guy that has primary weapons in the arms. You're going to have some that I think are in the torso as well, but if you need to, you can use him to taxi the elementals upfield. Depending on your opponent in the battlefield as well, though, you can park the elementals with your Warhawk and just play defense there for anybody that wants to come at you. A Wraith is going to have a real bad day trying to backstab a Warhawk when it flips arms and you're getting hit by a point of elementals.
Yeah, and then when you can buy some skills for the elementals, not all of them are available, but some of them, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, it's a nice little lance.
Yeah, that's I don't want to face that.
What do you mean, Lee? I can't put steady hands on my elementals?
That'd be
Well,
really interesting if you could, but
I guess you could. It's not going to do absolutely anything for them, but
Steady hands on elementals. Fire as if you had one more dude. If you have machine guns only.
yep. No, I'm really psyched to see what happens over the next 3 months. The whole season, obviously, but the next 3 months, watching how people settle in with the new tech, the new dynamic, the number of extra players. Right, that's going to be really interesting. We have almost back up to 50% newbies, so that's going to be interesting. Watching them learn the way we play, or just learning how to play Battletech. Because I know some of them are quite green.
Well, when this video goes up, it's basically going to be draft day weekend.
Yep.
And then we've got a month before game day 1 as we try to get everybody built their lances, get their lances painted, get models off of the shelf and onto the table. So we do have that 1 month break so people can be prepared. And then we're going to be into the matchups, and that's going to be pretty exciting.
There's going to be a lot of feeling out between this new group of players and the veterans, and I know the veterans are really looking forward to helping. There's been a lot of talk in our Discord channel and on our Facebook group, and just those of us who all know each other and the community that we have, talking about, I know JP is really looking forward to mentoring a lot of.
Yeah, as you said, I think currently we're looking at overall like 10 new people, 2 people that took a hiatus and are coming back. It's really exciting because we're going to have a whole lot of bodies.
Yeah, this was a big jump. And even if some people decide that they can't make it for the season, we're still seeing a big jump in attendance or attendees. So I think that's going to be good. We've got a big some changes when it came to League Tech, new neoprene maps. I think we've jumped by at least 6.
Yeah, we last season we didn't technically have any during the season, and now we're up to like 6. We went from roughly 20 maps, we're up to like 30 overall, and like as you said, 6 of those are the neoprene mats instead now, swapping those out.
Yeah, so it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing. I miss this. I always do, even though the break seems short. Like it felt like we had forever at when we were doing the wrap up dinner, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, draft day's in a month. Oh wow, that was fast. And meetings, and we've expanded our admin team a little bit. We have the Battle Babes give us a hand with a lot of our work. We've got Geoff Painter now. Yeah, it's going to be really exciting, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you and trying to keep up between League and the podcasts and trying to be a player. Though, Brett, you and I may end up sharing a lance.
Yeah, if we end up with an odd number of people, we might have to tag team.
Yeah, just to make it so nobody gets a bye. It's just for easier record keeping.
So how are we going to do that? Are we going to I build a lance, you build a lance, and then we just take weeks off? Or are we going to share one?
I was thinking about that. That's actually something I was talking about. We'll have to maybe talk off camera because I'm really not sure. Or we let someone else build our lance for us, and we play whatever they built for us.
The struggle with that is,
do we trust?
We may not own the models that they want to put in.
Okay, so we're doing the grinder, which is the Wasp Stinger, because the minis are pretty much the same. Wolverine, Warhammer, and Atlas for working out the new players' stance. Between 3 of us, we came up with what was it? We've got 20
basically
teams,
20 of each.
20 of each within 3 players. I'm pretty sure no matter what anybody decided to throw at us for mechs, we'd be able to find the 4 mechs within a couple of hours.
Who has a Thunder Stallion? You actually have one?
Yeah. I told you about this at the end of last season when Laura was talking about clans. I have a Thunder Stallion. I've got a...
I think we should go clan and just run the quad lances. The Fire Scorpion, the Thunder Stallion, the Stalking Spider, and a point of elementals. We are other legs. Well, yeah, because, I mean, between the 2 of us, the 2 admins, there's 4 legs between us, so why not run mechs that all have 4 legs, too?
Yeah, and you know, that would work. It's a theme lance. It'd be fun. Like, really, I don't play to win. If I do, I do. right? If the fact that I came in second in regular season in the first season was the best I've ever done ever, but if I end up in the middle of the pack or at the bottom, I don't care. I don't get to pick first anyway, so it makes no difference. I'm here to play and have fun with you guys, and if we do well, great. If we don't, that's okay.
Yeah, and who knows? We might end up with, but like 3 people dropping on draft day, and then we're down to 28 again in an even number.
Yeah, exactly. So we won't worry about it until draft day anyway. But yeah, it's
or
a
maybe
possibility.
we'll have 3 more walk-ins, and then we're up to 34.
Yep. Yeah. So the whole thing will work out one way or the other. Either we'll both have a stable and we'll fight to find out who's the best admin. Which last season was proven. Geoff, you are obviously the best mech warrior out of the 3 of us. But
well, that's a given, anyways.
We'll see. You.
I will play you anytime, any place, my good sir, and you know that.
Yep, I know. You'll drive all the way from your place to my place to show me up. Yep.
Actually, I'll just drive out to have a game and play, but
Well, yeah. Well, whoever
it'll just
wins,
be the added effect extra.
Yep. So really, that's the biggest thing that's coming up in League. I think I'm super excited. I think we have a great group of people that are coming in. The fact that now we have 18 veterans that have at least 1 season's worth of experience in League to help guide the new people coming in. And not all of the new people coming in are League noobs. I always find noobs to be almost like a derogatory term, but it isn't. New to League. At least 2 of them have played in League before. So that gives us 20 people to help guide the new players. I think we're going to have a swimming season, and everyone's going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was in the den today, and I already made sure that they're aware of what our schedule is going to be and the number of tables that we're going to need, somewhere around 17 to 18 tables. We have permission to have overflows, so we've got our area over in the corner. That's usually, 9 tables, so you can get a decent number of games there. And then we also will be taking over the other section of the building in front of the window.
Okay.
So that whole row there is where our other section will be, because the Magic players need to have access to the TV screens that are up there for their tournaments and stuff that happen every Sunday.
Okay. Cool.
Soon we'll take over all the Magic area.
Yeah, if everything keeps growing the way it is, then yeah, but that's great for the den. Like, I'm really happy that we can bring this number of players in who are into buying Battletech. Like, we've done what we can to help support the community.
Bring in an extra 18 to 30 bodies into the store every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Though I think a bunch of us would have been there anyway for other games. I know you play 40K out of there. If I wasn't playing Battletech, I probably would have joined Blood Bowl at some point. So, but yeah, I was glad we were able to reform League at the den, because they've been nothing but accommodating.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome in that regard. So I'm really happy that they're able to support us, and we're able to support them with all of our shout outs and having our events there, and when we do tournaments, running it out of there as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty good store to play from. It's quite nice to have it available to us.
I don't know what more I can say. I'm almost tapped out. We record these so late, it's already 11 o'clock at night. It's been fun. I've had a very long weekend, with Canada Day being yesterday. So, how's Canada?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to be all calmed down and head to bed, and then the fireworks started going off, and the dogs were riled up.
Yeah, I have a dash hound that just hides under stuff, like under me if she can get there. But yeah, she's constantly, any big noise. I'm quite sure she didn't enjoy the fireworks. We took the kids to go watch it here at the Kinsman Park in the town we're in, and it was loud, very loud.
Any final thoughts there, Geoff?
No, just looking forward to the season starting again and everything.
Next weekend's going to be a blast.
Yeah, starting up next weekend, we are busy every weekend going forward, doing stuff Battletech again, and away we go. It'll be all of a sudden Christmas time, and we'll be like, well, shit, where'd the time go?
Yeah. Well,
we've got every weekend.
No, yeah, in some way, shape, or form, it's either...
It is for Lee and I.
Yeah, it's either League, Uncivil Discourse, Rambletech, Battle Babes, interviewing, working on doing mech designs or skill stuff, the 20 text messages a day, all the three of us deal with questions from people.
With like 20 people, we were dealing with like 10 to 12 hours a week, plus every Sunday for a couple hours every night. I'm expecting more like 15, 16 hours every week and 4 or 5 hours on every Sunday night.
And you know, it's funny, other than the time, because of course, we have families, Brett, that we live with us. It's fun. I really like hearing from everybody. I enjoy that back and forth. As long as we're all,
Yeah, it's not like we're good, therefore we're all good to keep going.
Yeah. And community. We take our kids to other players' kids' birthday parties. We get together for barbecues occasionally. We've got people who are living out in the area now. I tried to start a campaign. We're still going to keep pushing it forward. Geoff finally beat me down and got me into willing to run a campaign. I got to get back to writing. So, no, this is going to be good. It's going to be exciting. It's a good thing I like this game. It'd be a big problem if I didn't.
I can't imagine donating this much of our free time to it if we didn't.
If it was just kind of like, no, that's I'd have been out of this probably 20 years ago if I didn't like it this much. So,
it's an enjoyable game, right?
Yep.
And it's fun to get out and hang out with people that you enjoy playing with.
I missed you guys those years that for between Stu's league and Bruce's league, and then between Bruce's league and this league. I missed talking to you guys and hanging out. So this is a good way.
Well, yeah, because I had pretty much like no contact with you from like 2015 to 2018 at least.
Yeah, at least 3 years. It was a big gap, and I know Geoff was even longer because he wasn't involved in Bruce's league at all. So
yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to say goodnight, everybody. This has been fantastic. Pleasure talking to all of you again, and we're going to try to get Uncivil Discourse. Will be out a week after the draft day. We'll get it recorded as quickly as we can and out to you so you know who your favorite mech warriors are running what stables and what we have some predictions. And then we will get going on our regular scheduled programming.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for viewing us. Subscribe, share, like, tell all your friends.
Yeah, tell your enemies. We don't care. We will take anybody. We're not proud.
What's our subscriber count currently there, Lee?
We're sitting at 200.
You're usually all over that.
It's been steady. It's been sitting pretty steady right now. We're at 253. So we are still above where our stretch goal was there to get to 250. And I think we will see a big jump once we get back to regular season, because our second best show, because the Battle Babes pushed us out of number 1 show, was our preseason for season 2. So hopefully our preseason for season 3 will be just as popular.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, everybody.
Have a good one.